History has so much to offer. In fact, within the Total War series, or indeed in the strategy gaming genre as a whole, we've only really scratched the surface of what's possible. We've had the Bronze Age collapse, Napoleon's wars, the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, some dark ages even here and there, but there's plenty in between all of this that I'd love to see in a new Total War game. Regardless of whether CA actually ever makes them or not, this video is simply about 3 new ideas I have for Total War games that have massive potential and that we've never seen in the series before. So the first and only time we've seen the subcontinent of India is in Empire Total War, a globe-spanning game in which you could start in or conquer this region. It was amazing to see, to be honest, and played a major part in my enjoyment of the game when it first came out, but this is such an unexplored region of the world in the series, and Empire barely gave us a glimpse of its rich history. I'm not gonna lie, there is a lot here, but I think what I'd focus on is between the years of 325 and 150 BC, essentially the rise of the Mauryan Empire, with an estimated population at the time of 15 to 30 million people, which when you think about it is absolutely immense. The Mauryans were a dominant force that quickly swept up not only pretty much all of India, but came to odds with other large kingdoms around it as well, including the Seleucid Empire. With Alexander's death in Babylon 323 BC, this could very well be a type of Indo-Hellenic game in which the primary focus is the rise of the Mauryan power in India, with replayability in other Hellenic kingdoms in the West as well, around, namely, the Diadochi. The chaos that ensued after Alexander's death is perfect for a Total War game, and to throw the Mauryans into the mix as a massive state of power in the East could be the exact threat these kingdoms would need. Now, these are all major powers, but there are plenty of minor ones as well to speak of. Seleucid satrapies, Cappadocia, Parthia, etc. Other smaller factions in India, including the Cholas, the Pandyas, the Cheras. There's the Afghan tribal kingdoms of Bactria and others. You even have the warring states of China further east. Ample room for that to make an entrance and be something that either the Mauryans take advantage of, or that a unified Qin China begins to gain enough power to worry them. This trifecta of a unified India, warring states in China, and super interesting Diadochi could be brilliant on the campaign. Battle gameplay would be pretty cool too. I mean, there's huge variety and potential with massive differences in geographical areas, weather effects, architecture, and siege maps, and styles of warfare between these 3 major cultures. Seeing Punjabi elephants charging through a wall of Macedonian pikemen is always going to be a sight to behold, but before it was a very small element of a game. Now it's the main course. Siege engines would probably be a problem, as the Mauryans relied heavily on elephants to do most of their destruction naturally, but as CA has done before, some historical liberty could be taken here to level the playing field as well. Essentially, the idea here is to create a trifecta of a unified India, warring states China, and super interesting Diadochi, all at odds with each other, within each other, and cross geography in this period of history ripe for great replayable and memorable Total War. Okay, now guys, hear me out because this is quite a tricky one. Between the 15th and 17th centuries, European nations began discovering huge amounts of new land and resources, fueled mainly by their desire to get around Islam in the East and reach the riches of India. All of that resulted in the European discoveries of Africa, the Caribbean, and of course the Americas. Now, the problem, of course, is with a game like this, there is potential to lead to the transatlantic slave trade, and that's something we definitely want to avoid. So what you do is focus on exploration. Medieval 2 did this so well by having the player able to explore across the Atlantic Ocean and find the new world. The Medieval 2 DLC America's campaign took that even further with the brilliant Spanish conquest of Central America, or indeed the player taking one of these local city-states to fight them off as much as they can. It's all quite possible essentially, to create a game in this era of history that does not touch the resulting slave trade and focuses on discovery. So what you could have is a Total War set in the early 15th century. European powers have discovery mechanics to go through, technological advancements, and send explorers to find new land and new opportunities. These lands could have resistance in the form of African kingdoms, Caribbean and American tribes, city-states, all fighting these explorers off and trying to survive, or trade with them, of course, to prosper. You could have major conflicts to portray in all these areas as well, of course. The Congo Civil War, Portuguese trade in southern Africa, the medieval conflicts of this time, the rise of the Ottomans, the Italian wars, the Wars of the Roses, and plenty of similar opportunities in the Americas. But the primary focus would be about naval exploration, discovery, and trade. It's still a Total War game. You can fight whoever you want, conquest, and completely ignore other mechanics, but the idea is more akin to Attila. It's new, innovative. You're focused on a specific mechanic that can affect everything else, right? So in Attila, it was playing as the Huns sweeping across the world with little resistance, or as the Roman empires trying to turtle up and survive, or the minor kingdoms in between trying to take advantage of it all or ally with one side or the other. As with India Total War, lots of cultural and regional diversity, so battles would be quite different region to region. Styles of warfare, strengths and weaknesses of various kingdoms would be quite varied, and especially on the campaign map, there's a lot of interesting new innovative gameplay opportunities to really make your decision making feel like they have real consequences. Of course, on the battle side of things, the main focus would be naval warfare. You'd have to have major naval engagements, huge technological advances. If you play as Portugal, do you go south and discover more of Africa, trying to get around to get to India, or go west and risk the long journey to see what might be out there? As African kingdoms, do you engage in European trade or fight them as foreigners invading your lands? Lots of really interesting potential here. So essentially, as in with India Total War, it's all about focusing on lots of different cultures and regions and having that one common thread, the exploration of the world that forces engagement between them in either friendly relations or direct all-out total war. It could truly be a great innovative game. Finally, this is kinda like the first idea with India Total War, but I think it's probably a bit more marketable, especially as you have major battles like Thermopylae and Marathon, set during the rise of the Achaemenid or Persian Empire from its foundation under Cyrus the Great to its height under Darius I and with the Greek invasion under Xerxes. This game would span the period of 550 BC to 330, covering the empire's rise, consolidation, the cultural kind of diversity in its kingdom, and eventual clashes with the Greek states as well, culminating in the conquests of Alexander the Great. On the Persian side of things, it would contain power struggles between various internal kingdoms and cultures, wars with Egypt and the Greek city-states dominating the Mediterranean, trading routes and expansion in the east as well, while on the Greek and indeed the Egyptian side of things, it would be about unification, about survival, taking a stand against Persian invasion, Sparta stepping up to the plate to fight off the Persian forces with fantastic historical figures like Leonidas and other Greek states at war with each other but needing to diplomatically set aside their differences to defeat this common enemy. And finally, it all ending with the Macedonian kingdom, Alexander's rise as a general in the north and taking his campaign further and further east. The focus is on Persia, really, at its core, but the replayability of various other factions and cultures would be present here as well in very interesting ways. Not just Greece either, Scythian tribes in the north, Indian kingdoms to the east, and others. Not to mention, of course, the potential for developments in technology, new units and trading routes, and in warfare with Alexander's genius in tactics. I'd love to see a much more expanded trading and resource mechanic, for example, that kind of uses a mix of what trading and resource systems used to be like in older games, and what is present in Troy and Pharaoh, where a lot of them have direct impact on what you can build, who you can recruit, what you can trade. This all has great potential here, and dozens of resources to trade and incorporate in these systems would have to be present. Battles especially would be really quite interesting to see. Overwhelming numbers on the Persian side, the heavily trained and equipped Greek states, the various potential for terrain, major naval battles. It could be awesome, I think, as a total war. If anything, just to see the great generals like Leonidas or indeed Darius I or Cyrus alone. All in all, a Rise of Persia Total War could capture multiple different audiences all in one, in an era already established in the media to be really popular, and in the series we've seen it here and there before. It just needs some more interesting mechanics, a more modern take, and a great narrative to bring it to life in a new Total War setting. Overall, 3 games in 3 new chapters of human history that I think would be great for the series that we haven't really truly explored yet. The genre desperately needs a refresh, and now is a great time to, with the potential for new innovative mechanics, a focus on different ways to play these games in ways that we've never seen before, that pushes our boundaries geographically and culturally as well. Get out of the box we've put ourselves into and force us in these replayable scenarios to make difficult decisions with real meaningful consequences. That is the essence of what a new title should do in this series. And these are all areas that I think we could explore, as well as others. I mean, a Korean Three Kingdoms game, a Mesoamerican focused game, or even something more modern with a pre-World War I game would honestly be all of this would be absolutely amazing. But these are the 3 ideas in this video I think have the most potential with really fresh and interesting new gameplay. And that's it for today, guys. I'd love to hear what you think, so let me know in the comments below your own ideas for a historical Total War that's a bit out of the box, you know, not Empire 2 or Medieval 3, and what you think about these ideas that I've discussed here in this video. Subscribe for more videos just like this, and if you want to, you know, I know you've watched the video already, maybe you gave it a like and dropped a comment below. All of that goes a long way already, but consider supporting me directly by becoming a member or buying me a coffee on buyacoffee.com. It all goes a long way, and I massively appreciate it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.